England, 1847. The chandeliers of Belgravia Hall glittered like 1,000 stars against the night sky. Diana Byron, with her chestnut hair elegantly arranged and dark eyes sparkling with anticipation, moved gracefully through the crowd of London's finest society. The daughter of the respected Baron Byron, she was the picture of genteel refinement in her blue silk gown, a stark contrast to the whispers that followed in her wake. "There she is," the hushed voices said. "The one who was to marry the Duke of Westmoreland." Diana held her head high, ignoring the pitying glances. Only 3 months prior, she had been the envy of every young woman in London, engaged to Hugh Grosvenor, the Duke of Westmoreland, handsome, charming, and the most desired bachelor in England. Now she attended her first social gathering since the humiliation that had shattered her world. "Miss Byron," came a gentle voice. It was Mrs. Eleanor Pembroke, her father's oldest friend. "How lovely to see you. Your courage does you credit." "Thank you," Diana replied with a measured smile. "I find one must face society eventually." "Indeed, though I dare say society must face you, and feel thoroughly ashamed for its gossip." Diana's gaze involuntarily drifted across the ballroom to where Hugh stood, resplendent in his formal attire, his golden hair catching the light. Beside him was the reason for Diana's broken engagement, Lady Victoria Ashford, the American heiress whose fortune had turned Hugh's head and heart away from Diana. The memories of that dreadful night at the spring ball still burned fresh in Diana's mind. Hugh had requested a private word, and with hope in her heart, she had followed him to a secluded alcove, only to hear the words that would change everything. "My dear Diana," he had said, his voice cool and detached, "I must speak frankly. Circumstances have changed. I have met someone whose connections would better serve my estates and title." Diana had stared at him in disbelief. "You speak of our engagement as though it were merely a business arrangement. Is that not what marriage is, at its core? Lady Victoria's father has extensive holdings in America. The alliance would secure the future of Westmoreland for generations. And what of love, Hugh? What of the promises we made?" His expression had hardened then. "Love is a luxury, Diana. Duty to one's family name must take precedence." Later that same evening, before Diana could even inform her parents of the broken engagement, Hugh had announced his betrothal to Lady Victoria before all of London society. The humiliation had been complete. "Shall we find some refreshment?" Mrs. Pembroke suggested, drawing Diana back to the present. As they made their way toward the refreshment table, Diana nearly collided with a tall figure. "I beg your pardon," said a deep voice, and Diana looked up into the bluest eyes she had ever seen. "The fault is entirely mine," she replied, regaining her composure. "I was not attending to my path." The gentleman bowed. "James Spencer, Duke of Ashworth, at your service." Diana cursed gracefully. "Miss Diana Byron." Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, perhaps. "Miss Byron, your reputation precedes you. I have heard of your charitable work with the orphanage on Harley Street." Surprised that he would mention her charity work rather than the scandal surrounding her name, Diana felt a small bloom of appreciation. "You are well informed, Your Grace. I make it a point to know of those who contribute meaningfully to society, rather than merely adorning it." His gaze deliberately moved toward Hugh and Lady Victoria, then back to Diana. "Would you honor me with a dance, Miss Byron?" Diana hesitated, knowing all eyes would be upon them. The Duke of Ashworth was known to be selective with his attention, rarely dancing at social gatherings. His estate in Derbyshire was one of the largest in the country, and rumors of his wealth rivaled even Lady Victoria's American fortune. "I would be delighted," she finally said, placing her gloved hand in his. As he led her to the dance floor, Diana was acutely aware of Hugh's gaze following them. The orchestra struck up a waltz, and the Duke of Ashworth guided her with confident grace. "You dance beautifully, Miss Byron," he remarked. "As do you, Your Grace, though I confess I'm surprised to find you participating in such frivolities. It is said you prefer the solitude of your estate to London society." A smile touched his lips. "Astute observation. I find much of London society tedious and superficial. However, occasionally one finds a genuine soul amidst the artifice." His direct gaze made Diana's cheeks warm. "You are very direct, Your Grace." "Jamie," he said. "My friends call me Jamie. I was not aware we were friends, Your Grace." Not yet, perhaps, but I have a feeling we shall be. As they continued their dance, Diana caught sight of Hugh watching them, a frown marring his handsome features. Lady Victoria clutched his arm possessively, her elaborate diamond necklace catching the light with every movement. "Your former fiancé appears displeased," Jamie remarked quietly. Diana stiffened. "You are well informed indeed. Forgive me. I did not mean to cause discomfort. There is nothing to forgive. The entire ton knows of my humiliation." Jamie's hand tightened slightly on hers. "I see only a woman of remarkable dignity, not humiliation." When the dance ended, Jamie bowed over her hand. "Miss Byron, I travel to Derbyshire tomorrow. I understand your family's estate neighbours mine. Perhaps we shall meet again in the countryside." "Perhaps," Diana replied, finding herself hoping it would be so. As the evening progressed, Diana observed Hugh making repeated attempts to approach her, only to be intercepted by one acquaintance or another. Finally, as she was preparing to depart with her parents, he managed to corner her in the entrance hall. "Diana," he said, his voice low and urgent, "you look well." "Thank you, Your Grace," she replied coldly, emphasizing his title. "Must we be so formal? We have known each other since childhood. Formality seems appropriate given the circumstances." Hugh glanced around to ensure they were not overheard. "My engagement to Lady Victoria was a matter of practicality. It does not change what was between us." Diana felt a sharp pain in her chest. "On the contrary, Your Grace, it changed everything." "I see you have made the acquaintance of Ashworth," Hugh said, his tone hardening. "He is not what he seems, Diana. There are rumors about his past." "How curious that you should concern yourself with my acquaintances when you have made your priorities so abundantly clear." Diana's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "Now, if you'll excuse me, my parents are waiting." As she turned away, Hugh caught her arm. "Diana, please. There is much you do not understand." She gently but firmly removed his hand. "I understand perfectly, Your Grace. Good evening." The ride home in the family carriage was quiet, her parents exchanging concerned glances. "You conducted yourself admirably tonight, my dear," her father finally said. Diana gazed out at the foggy London streets. "I have decided to accept your suggestion, father. I shall go to Derbyshire tomorrow." Baron Byron nodded approvingly. "Excellent. The country air will do you good." What Diana did not say was that the prospect of seeing Jamie Spencer again had suddenly made the idea of retreating to the countryside far more appealing than she had anticipated. As the carriage rolled through the misty London streets, Diana reflected on the unexpected turn her life had taken. 3 months ago, she had believed her future secured as the Duchess of Westmoreland. Now that dream lay shattered. Yet somehow, as she recalled the intensity of Jamie Spencer's blue eyes, Diana felt the first stirring of something new. Not hope, perhaps, but possibility. The rolling hills of Derbyshire spread before Diana like a verdant tapestry as the Byron family carriage wound its way along the country road. After 2 weeks at Heathwood, her family's modest but elegant country estate, Diana had already felt her spirits lifting. Away from London's critical eyes and endless gossip, she breathed easier. The fresh spring air carried the scent of wildflowers, and the simple routine of country life provided the balm her wounded heart needed. On this particular morning, Diana had risen early, donning a simple walking dress and sturdy boots. She informed her lady's maid, Betsy, that she intended to walk to the village to visit the small schoolhouse where she had begun volunteering. "Shall I send for the carriage, Miss Diana?" Betsy asked, pinning Diana's chestnut hair into a practical arrangement. "No, thank you. The walk will do me good." As Diana made her way through the countryside, her thoughts turned to her work at the village school. In the past fortnight, she had discovered an unexpected joy in teaching the local children to read and cipher. Their eager faces and genuine appreciation provided a satisfaction that London's ballrooms never had. Approaching the village, Diana heard the commotion before she saw it. A crowd had gathered around the schoolhouse, and smoke billowed from its windows. Children huddled together at a distance, some crying, while adults passed buckets of water frantically. "What happened?" Diana asked, rushing to Mrs. Fairchild, the schoolmistress. "Lightning struck during the night," the distraught woman explained. "The fire smoldered until morning. We discovered it when the children arrived." Diana immediately joined the bucket line, her fine walking dress soon soiled with soot and water. For nearly an hour, The villagers worked together until the flames were finally extinguished, leaving the schoolhouse a charred shell. Where will the children study now? Diana wondered aloud, surveying the damage. That is the question, is it not? Came a familiar voice behind her. Diana turned to find Jamie Spencer dismounting from his horse, his tall figure commanding attention despite his simple country attire. Unlike the formal elegance he had displayed in London, here he wore riding clothes, suited for estate management. "Your Grace!" Diana cursed, suddenly acutely aware of her bedraggled appearance. "I did not expect to see you here. Word reached Ashworth Hall of the fire. I came to offer assistance." His eyes took in her soot-smudged face and dampened dress with evident admiration. "You seem to have been in the thick of the action, Miss Byron." Before Diana could respond, Mrs. Fairchild approached, curtsying deeply. "Your Grace, it's most kind of you to come. We're at our wits' end about what to do with the children's education." Jamie surveyed the damaged building thoughtfully. "The east wing of Ashworth Hall has several unused rooms that would serve admirably as temporary classrooms. You are welcome to use them until the schoolhouse can be rebuilt." Mrs. Fairchild's eyes widened. "But, Your Grace, that's exceedingly generous." "Not at all. Education is essential." He turned to Diana. "Perhaps Miss Byron might continue her excellent work there as well." Diana felt a flutter in her chest at his acknowledgement of her efforts. "I would be delighted to assist if Mrs. Fairchild approves." "Then it's settled," Jamie announced. "I shall send carriages tomorrow morning to transport the children to and from Ashworth Hall daily." As the villagers expressed their gratitude, Diana observed Jamie closely. There was nothing performative in his generosity. Unlike many of the nobility who made grand charitable gestures for public acclaim, he seemed genuinely concerned for the children's welfare. "You are staring, Miss Byron," he said quietly, a smile playing at his lips. Diana felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Forgive me. I was merely thinking that your actions today reveal much about your character. And what conclusions have you drawn? That perhaps there is more substance to the Duke of Ashworth than London society gives credit for." Jamie's smile deepened, creating lines at the corners of his eyes that Diana found inexplicably captivating. "High praise indeed. May I escort you home? You've had quite an eventful morning." Diana hesitated, glancing down at her ruined dress. "I am hardly presentable." "On the contrary," Jamie replied, his blue eyes warm, "I find sincerity and compassion far more appealing than pristine appearances." They walked together, Jamie leading his horse, as Diana told him of her work with the children. She found herself speaking more freely than she had in months, sharing her ideas for improving rural education and her belief that even girls from humble backgrounds deserve to learn more than mere household management. "You have given this considerable thought," Jamie observed. "It gives me purpose," Diana admitted. "After what happened in London," she trailed off, reluctant to mention Hugh. "After what happened," Jamie continued for her, "you might have retreated into bitterness or self-pity. Instead, you chose to channel your energies toward helping others. That speaks volumes about your character, Miss Byron." As they approached Heathwood, Diana realized with surprise that she had spent over an hour in Jamie's company without once dwelling on her broken engagement. For the first time since Hugh's betrayal, she felt a genuine lightness of spirit. "Will you join us for tea?" she asked impulsively as they reached the gate. Jamie looked genuinely regretful. "I must decline today. Estate matters require my attention. However, I hope to see you tomorrow at Ashworth Hall when the children arrive." "I shall be there," Diana promised. Over the following weeks, a routine developed. Each morning, Diana would arrive at Ashworth Hall to assist with the children's lessons. Jamie frequently stopped by the makeshift schoolroom, sometimes remaining to listen to the children read or to demonstrate a mathematical concept. One afternoon, as Diana was gathering her things after the children had departed, she found Jamie waiting at the door. "I've been meaning to show you something," he said. "Would you care to accompany me to the library?" Diana followed him through the grand corridors of Ashworth Hall. Unlike many aristocratic homes that felt cold and impersonal, Jamie's residence had a warmth to it. Fresh flowers in vases, well-worn books left open, evidence of a house that was lived in, not merely displayed. The library took Diana's breath away. 2 stories tall, with a spiral staircase leading to an upper gallery, it housed more books than she had ever seen outside of London's finest institutions. "This is magnificent," she breathed, running her fingers along the spines of leather-bound volumes. Jamie watched her with evident pleasure. "I thought you might appreciate it. My father was an avid collector, and I've continued his tradition, but I wish to show you this specifically." He led her to a glass case containing an ancient-looking manuscript. "This is a treatise on women's education from 1792, Mary Wollstonecraft's personal copy of her Vindication of the Rights of Woman, with her own annotations." Diana gasped. "But this must be incredibly valuable." "It is, and it aligns remarkably well with the educational philosophy you've described for your young female students." Diana stared at him in wonder. "You remembered our conversation." "I remember everything you say, Diana," Jamie replied softly. The use of her Christian name spoken with such gentle intimacy sent a shiver through her. It was the first time he had addressed her so informally, and Diana found she did not mind in the slightest. Their eyes met, and Diana felt something shift between them, a recognition, a possibility. Jamie took a step closer, and for a breathless moment, Diana thought he might kiss her. Instead, he took her hand, his thumb brushing lightly over her knuckles. "Diana, Your Grace." A servant appeared at the doorway, looking flustered. "Forgive the interruption, but there are visitors. The Duke of Westmoreland and Lady Victoria Ashford have just arrived." Diana felt as though she had been doused with cold water. Hugh here, and with his fiancée? Jamie's expression hardened momentarily before returning to its usual composed state. "Show them to the drawing room. We shall be there presently." When the servant had gone, Jamie turned to Diana with concern. "Forgive me. Had I known they were coming, I would have warned you." "There is nothing to forgive," Diana said, though her voice trembled slightly. "It was bound to happen eventually." Jamie offered his arm. "We need not see them if you prefer not to." Diana straightened her shoulders. "No, I have nothing to hide or be ashamed of." "Your courage continues to impress me," Jamie said softly, leading her from the library. In the drawing room, Hugh and Lady Victoria stood by the fireplace, an odd contrast. Hugh looked uncomfortable, while Lady Victoria surveyed the room with calculating eyes. When they entered, Hugh's gaze immediately fixed on Diana, something like regret flashing across his handsome features. "Westmoreland, Lady Victoria," Jamie greeted them with cool formality. "This is an unexpected pleasure." "Ashworth," Hugh replied stiffly. "We were touring the area and thought to pay our respects." "How fortunate that you should find me at home," Jamie said, the subtle emphasis suggesting he suspected their visit was no coincidence. Lady Victoria stepped forward, her elaborate travelling costume making Diana feel underdressed in her simple teaching attire. "Miss Byron, what a surprise to find you here. We had heard you were in Derbyshire, but not that you had become so familiar with Ashworth Hall." The insinuation in her tone was unmistakable. Diana felt a flash of anger but maintained her composure. "I assist with teaching the village children, who are temporarily using His Grace's East Wing as a schoolroom." "How charitable," Lady Victoria replied, her tone suggesting it was anything but, though one wonders why a duke would concern himself with the education of peasants. Jamie's voice cooled noticeably. "I find investing in education yields far greater returns than many other pursuits, Lady Victoria, but perhaps American sensibilities differ from ours." Hugh cleared his throat uncomfortably. "We won't impose long. We are expected at Chatsworth this evening." "The Devonshires are entertaining then?" Jamie inquired politely. "A small gathering," Lady Victoria said, clearly pleased to emphasize their social connections. "The Prince Regent is expected." "How lovely for you," Diana said evenly. "I'm sure it will be a magnificent affair." Hugh's eyes hadn't left Diana. "You look well, Diana. Country life evidently agrees with you." "Yes," she replied simply. "I have found great satisfaction here." An uncomfortable silence fell until Jamie smoothly suggested refreshments. As tea was served, Diana noticed the tension between Hugh and Lady Victoria, small signs of discord in their exchanged glances and curt responses to one another. "I understand congratulations are in order," Jamie said, his tone perfectly pleasant though his eyes were watchful. "Your wedding is to be this autumn, is it not?" Hugh shifted in his seat. "The date is not yet fixed." Lady Victoria's smile tightened. "My father insists on certain financial arrangements being settled first. Legal matters can be so tedious." "Indeed," Jamie murmured. particularly when one party may have misrepresented their circumstances. Diana glanced sharply at him, wondering at his meaning. Hugh's face darkened, but before he could respond, Lady Victoria rose abruptly. "We really must be going if we're to reach Chatsworth before dinner," she announced. "Thank you for your hospitality, Ashworth." As they prepared to depart, Hugh managed a moment alone with Diana in the entrance hall, while Jamie escorted Lady Victoria to their carriage. "Diana," Hugh said urgently, "I've made a terrible mistake." Diana felt a painful thudding in her chest, but kept her expression neutral. "We all make choices, Your Grace. Not a day passes that I don't regret what I did to you." His voice dropped to a whisper. "Victoria's fortune is not what it was rumored to be, and her father's demands grow more unreasonable by the day. The marriage may never happen. And this should concern me how?" Diana asked, though her voice caught slightly. Hugh stepped closer. "Because I never stopped loving you." For a moment, Diana felt the ghost of her former feelings. The girl who had loved Hugh since childhood stirred within her. But then she thought of Jamie, his kindness, his respect, the way he valued her mind and her convictions. "I believe your fiancé is waiting," Diana said quietly. Hugh's face fell. "This isn't over, Diana. We have too much history to simply end." After they had gone, Diana found Jamie in the library, staring pensively out the window. "Are you all right?" he asked when he noticed her. "Yes," Diana replied, surprised to realize it was true. "Seeing Hugh was less difficult than I expected." Jamie studied her face. "He still harbors feelings for you." It wasn't a question, but Diana answered anyway. "He claims to, yes, but I've learned that Hugh's words and his actions rarely align. And you? Do you still harbor feelings for him?" Diana considered this carefully. "I think a first love always leaves its mark. But what I've felt for Hugh seems like a girlish infatuation now. I've changed since then." Jamie took her hand, his touch sending warmth through her. "For what it's worth, I believe the change is remarkable. You've grown into your strength, Diana Byron." As Diana returned home that evening, she realized that the pain of Hugh's betrayal had diminished to a dull ache, replaced by something new and promising. Feelings for a man who saw her value beyond her beauty or family connections, who respected her mind and shared her principles. For the first time since that fateful spring ball, Diana found herself looking forward rather than back, and the future suddenly seemed bright with possibility. Summer blossomed across Derbyshire, painting the countryside in vibrant hues. The temporary schoolroom at Ashworth Hall had evolved into something more permanent, with Jamie commissioning proper desks and educational materials from London. The village children thrived under Diana's guidance, and her days were filled with purpose and joy. Her friendship with Jamie had deepened into something more profound. They spent hours discussing books, debating philosophical ideas, or simply enjoying each other's company in comfortable silence. Diana had never known such ease with anyone, certainly not with Hugh, whose conversation had always revolved around society gossip and hunting. On a warm July afternoon, Diana and Jamie rode out to survey the progress on the new schoolhouse being built in the village. Jamie had not only contributed generously to its reconstruction, but had insisted on improvements: larger windows for better light, a separate library room, and proper heating for winter months. "The children will scarcely recognize it," Diana remarked as they dismounted to examine the half-finished structure. "They deserve nothing less," Jamie replied. "Their education today shapes the county's future." Diana smiled up at him. "You speak like a man with a personal stake in education." "I suppose I do," Jamie admitted, his expression growing thoughtful. "My mother died when I was young, and my father was often absent. Books and a particularly dedicated tutor were my salvation during a lonely childhood." Diana touched his arm gently. "I didn't know. You rarely speak of your family. There is little to tell. My father was a good duke, but a distant parent. He expected me to fulfill my duties to the title, nothing more. And yet you've become so much more than just a title," Diana said softly. Jamie's eyes met hers, their blue depths reflecting something that made Diana's heart quicken. "Because of people like you, Diana. People who see beyond rank and privilege to what truly matters." They continued their inspection, discussing plans for the autumn term, when a commotion at the village crossroads caught their attention. A carriage had overturned, and a crowd was gathering. Without hesitation, Jamie rushed toward the accident, Diana following close behind. The carriage lay on its side, its wheels still spinning slowly. The driver was helping a woman from the wreckage, while bystanders attempted to calm the frightened horses. "Is anyone hurt?" Jamie called out, immediately taking charge. "Just the lady, Your Grace," the driver replied, his face pale with shock. "It was the wheel, sir. Came clean off on the turn." Diana pushed forward to assist the injured passenger, then stopped abruptly. It was Lady Victoria Ashford, her travelling dress torn and muddied, a trickle of blood running from a cut on her forehead. "Miss Byron," Lady Victoria said weakly, recognition dawning in her eyes. "How very unexpected." "You're injured," Diana said, setting aside any personal feelings. "Let me help you." Jamie appeared at her side, equally surprised but similarly pragmatic. "Lady Victoria must be taken somewhere to rest and have her wounds attended to. Ashworth Hall is closest." Despite Lady Victoria's weak protests, Jamie insisted on carrying her to his horse. "Miss Byron and I shall take you to Ashworth Hall immediately. Your driver can follow with the repaired carriage when possible." The journey was awkward, with Lady Victoria mounted before Jamie, while Diana rode her own mare alongside. At Ashworth Hall, servants rushed to prepare a guest chamber, and the housekeeper, Mrs. Fleming, helped Lady Victoria to bed while sending for the local physician. "I've sent word to Westmoreland," Jamie informed Diana as they waited in the drawing room, "though I'm not certain where to find him. According to her driver, Lady Victoria was travelling alone." Diana frowned. "Alone? That seems unlike her." "Indeed. She was headed toward Matlock, apparently." Before they could speculate further, Mrs. Fleming appeared. "The lady is asking for Miss Byron, Your Grace." Surprised, Diana made her way to the guest chamber. Lady Victoria lay against the pillows, her golden hair unpinned and flowing around her shoulders, making her look younger and more vulnerable than Diana had ever seen her. "You wish to see me?" Diana asked, remaining by the door. "Please, come closer," Lady Victoria said, her voice lacking its usual sharp edge. "I find I owe you an explanation at the very least." Cautiously, Diana approached the bedside. "There's no need—" "There is every need," Lady Victoria interrupted. "You must think me the villain in your story, and perhaps rightly so." Diana remained silent, unsure how to respond. Lady Victoria sighed. "I was raised to make an advantageous match. My father made it abundantly clear that our family's continued prosperity depended upon it. When we came to England and I met Hugh, well, he was exactly what I had been instructed to find. A duke with an ancient title but estates in need of funds. I don't see how this concerns me," Diana said, though she felt a growing discomfort at the intimate confession. "It concerns you because I knowingly pursued a man who was engaged to another, something I have come to deeply regret." Lady Victoria's eyes filled with unexpected tears. "Hugh does not love me. He has never loved me. Even now, as our wedding approaches, he speaks of you." Diana's chest tightened. "Lady Victoria, please, call me Victoria. Formality seems absurd under the circumstances." "Victoria, then. Whatever was between Hugh and me is in the past." "Is it?" Victoria asked sharply. "Because I've seen how he looks when your name is mentioned. I've heard him call out for you in his sleep." Diana felt her cheeks flame. "I'm sorry, but this is most improper." "Improper, yes, but necessary," Victoria insisted. "I was travelling to Matlock to meet my father. I've decided to break the engagement." Diana stared at her in astonishment. "But why?" "Because a marriage without love is a prison, Miss Byron. One I've finally found the courage to escape." Victoria's gaze was direct now. "My father insisted on this match, threatening to cut me off without a penny if I refused. I have decided I would rather be penniless than miserable for a lifetime." "I don't know what to say," Diana admitted. "You need say nothing. I merely thought you should know that Hugh will soon be free." Victoria's expression softened slightly. "Though I suspect, from what I've observed between you and Ashworth, that this information may come too late." Before Diana could formulate a response, a commotion sounded from downstairs. Moments later, the door burst open to reveal Hugh, his clothing disheveled as though he had ridden hard. "Victoria," he exclaimed, rushing to the bedside before noticing Diana. "Diana, I did not expect to find you here." "Miss Byron has been most attentive," Victoria said coolly. "Unlike my fiancé, who was nowhere to be found when I needed him." Hugh's face reddened. I came as soon as I received word. Are you badly hurt? Nothing serious, merely a few cuts and bruises. Victoria's voice regained some of its familiar sharpness. Though it's fortunate the Duke of Ashworth and Miss Byron happened upon me, one shudders to think what might have happened otherwise. Diana moved toward the door. I shall leave you to speak privately. Diana, wait, Hugh called after her, but she continued out, closing the door firmly behind her. In the corridor, she nearly collided with Jamie, who had evidently been coming to check on the situation. How is she? He asked. Recovering well, Diana replied, then hesitated. Jamie, she told me something rather extraordinary. She intends to break her engagement to Hugh. Jamie's eyebrows rose. Indeed, that is unexpected. She claims to have realized that a marriage without love is not worth the security it brings, Diana said, still trying to process the conversation. A wise realization, though one wonders at the timing, Jamie remarked thoughtfully. Before Diana could respond, the guest room door opened and Hugh emerged, his expression thunderous. Ashworth, he acknowledged curtly, then turned to Diana. Might I have a word with you, Diana, in private? Jamie stiffened beside her. Miss Byron is under no obligation. It's all right, Diana interrupted gently, touching Jamie's arm. I'll speak with him. Jamie's eyes searched hers, concern evident. Very well. I shall be in the library should you need me. Diana led Hugh to a small sitting room down the corridor, maintaining a careful distance between them as she closed the door. Victoria has just informed me she wishes to end our engagement, Hugh said without preamble. Yes, she mentioned as much to me, Diana replied evenly. Hugh ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration Diana remembered well. She claims I am still in love with you, that I have been miserable without you. Diana remained silent, waiting. The devil of it is she's right, Hugh continued, stepping closer. Diana, I have regretted my decision every day since I made it. Losing you was the greatest mistake of my life. Hugh! No, please hear me out. His voice grew urgent. I was a fool, blinded by ambition and the promise of Victoria's fortune. But wealth means nothing without happiness, without you. He reached for her hands, and Diana allowed him to take them, feeling a curious detachment as she looked into the face she had once loved so desperately. We could start again, Hugh pleaded. The moment Victoria returns to America, I shall be free. Free to follow my heart, which has always belonged to you. There was a time when such words would have made Diana's heart soar. Now she felt only a distant sadness for what might have been. Hugh, she said gently, what we had is in the past. You cannot mean that, he insisted. What we shared was beautiful once, Diana acknowledged. But when you broke our engagement, you broke something else as well. My trust in you. I can regain that trust. Given time. Diana shook her head. It isn't just that. I've changed, Hugh. These months in Derbyshire have shown me what truly matters to me, what I truly want from life and from love. Hugh's face hardened slightly. Ashworth, you've developed feelings for him. It wasn't a question, but Diana answered truthfully. Yes. You hardly know him, Diana. There are things about his past. I know enough, Diana interrupted firmly. I know he is kind and principled. I know he values education and treats everyone, regardless of their station, with respect. I know he sees me, truly sees me, not as an ornament or a means to an end, but as a person of substance. Hugh released her hands, stepping back as though struck. And I never did. You saw what you wanted to see, Diana said, her tone softening. We were very young, Hugh. Perhaps what we felt was never meant to last. A heavy silence fell between them, the weight of their shared history and divergent futures pressing down. Does he make you happy? Hugh finally asked, his voice rough with emotion. Diana thought of Jamie, his quiet strength, his profound respect for her mind and opinions, the way his eyes lit up when she entered a room. Yes, she said simply. He does. Hugh nodded slowly, a mixture of resignation and regret on his face. Then I wish you joy of it, truly. As he turned to leave, Diana called after him. Hugh. He paused, looking back. I hope you find someone who loves you for yourself, not your title or estates. You deserve that happiness too. A sad smile touched his lips. Ever generous, even to those who wronged you. That was always your way, Diana Byron. After Hugh departed, Diana remained in the sitting room, processing the unexpected turns the day had taken. When she finally emerged, she found Jamie waiting in the corridor, his expression guarded. "Is all well?" he asked cautiously. Diana nodded. "Hugh wished to tell me that Victoria has broken their engagement and to revisit our past." Jamie's posture tensed visibly. "I see. I told him that my feelings have changed," Diana continued, moving closer, "that my heart now lies elsewhere." Hope dawned in Jamie's eyes. "And where might that be?" "With a certain duke who values education and kindness above all else," Diana said softly. "A man who saw me at my lowest moment and helped me discover my own strength." Jamie took her hands in his touch sending warmth through her entire being. "Diana Byron, from the moment I saw you standing dignified and proud at that London ball, I knew you were extraordinary. Not for your beauty, though you possess that in abundance, but for your resilience and grace in the face of cruelty." Diana's heart swelled at his words. "I never thought I would feel this way again, that I could trust my heart to anyone after what happened." "I would never betray that trust," Jamie vowed, his blue eyes intense. "Every day since we met, my admiration and affection for you have only deepened. Your passion for education, your kindness to the village children, your brilliant mind, these are the qualities that have captured my heart." A gentle breeze from an open window stirred the curtains, casting dappled sunlight across their joined hands. In that moment, surrounded by the quiet beauty of Ashworth Hall, Diana knew with absolute certainty that what she felt for Jamie was true love, deeper and more meaningful than anything she had experienced with Hugh. "I believe I'm falling in love with you, Jamie Spencer," she whispered, the words both frightening and liberating to speak aloud. Jamie's face transformed with joy. He drew her closer, one hand gently cupping her cheek. "Diana Byron, I have already fallen completely in love with you." As his lips met hers in a tender first kiss, Diana felt as though her heart might burst with happiness. This was nothing like the chaste, proper kisses she had shared with Hugh during their engagement. This was a meeting of souls, a promise of partnership based on mutual respect and genuine affection. When they finally parted, both slightly breathless, Jamie pressed his forehead against hers. "I had planned to speak to your father soon about courting you properly. It seems we've rather disrupted the traditional order of things." Diana laughed softly. "I find I don't mind in the slightest." Their moment of bliss was interrupted by Mrs. Fleming, who appeared with news that the physician had arrived to tend to Lady Victoria. As Jamie went to attend to their unexpected guest, Diana wandered to the library, her mind and heart full. Among the thousands of volumes, she found herself drawn to a small leather-bound book on a side table. Opening it, she discovered it was Jamie's personal journal. Propriety demanded she close it immediately, but a glimpse of her own name caught her eye. "I met Diana Byron today," the entry began, dated the very evening of the London ball where they had first danced. "She carries herself with remarkable dignity, despite the ton's cruel gossip. There is a depth to her that few seem to appreciate, an intelligence and strength of character that shine through her every word and gesture. I find myself thinking of her dark eyes, so expressive and honest." Diana closed the journal quickly, her cheeks flushing at this evidence of Jamie's long-standing regard. She replaced it exactly as she had found it. But the damage was done. She had glimpsed Jamie's most private thoughts and found herself illuminated within them. When Jamie returned to the library some time later, he found Diana by the window, gazing out at the gardens. "Lady Victoria is resting comfortably," he reported. "The physician says she should recover quickly, though he recommends she remain here for at least 2 days before traveling." "That is good news," Diana replied, turning to face him. She hesitated, then added, "Jamie, I must confess something. I inadvertently saw an entry in your journal, one that mentioned me. I apologize for the intrusion." Jamie's expression registered surprise, but not anger. "And what did you discover in my poorly hidden thoughts?" "That you saw something in me from the very beginning," Diana said softly. "Something I scarcely saw in myself at that time." Jamie approached her, taking her hands once more. "I saw a woman of substance when others saw only scandal, a woman whose true value had been overlooked by a man too blind to recognize the treasure before him." His voice deepened with emotion. "Diana, I have loved you since that first dance. Every day in your company has only confirmed what my heart knew immediately. Diana felt tears prick her eyes. How different our big feelings at once, while mine have grown slowly, taking root in the fertile ground of your kindness and respect. Different paths leading to the same destination, Jamie murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her face. And that is all that matters. Over the next 2 days, an unexpected development occurred at Ashworth Hall. Hugh, reluctant to leave Victoria in her injured state, took up temporary residence in another guest chamber. The 4 people, bound together by their complicated history, found themselves sharing meals and occasional conversation, creating an atmosphere of tentative civility. On the evening before Victoria and Hugh were to depart, Diana found Victoria in the conservatory, surrounded by exotic plants and bathed in the golden light of sunset. "How are you feeling?" Diana asked, joining her on the stone bench. "Much improved, thank you," Victoria replied, her usual sharpness softened. "You and the Duke of Ashworth have been more gracious than I had any right to expect." Diana arranged her skirts thoughtfully. "Life takes unexpected turns. It seems pointless to cling to bitterness when circumstances change so rapidly." Victoria studied her with newfound respect. "You are rather remarkable, Diana Byron. I can see why both men love you." Diana's gaze went to the doorway where Jamie stood deep in conversation with Hugh. The 2 dukes, so different in temperament and character, appeared to be speaking with unexpected earnestness. "Hugh does not love me," Diana said gently. "He loved the idea of me, the perfect accommodating wife who would grace his arm and never challenge his decisions." Victoria's lips curved in a sad smile. "Perhaps you're right. It seems we were both caught in roles society prescribed for us, rather than following our hearts." "And now? Will you return to America?" Diana asked. "Yes, my father will be furious, of course, but I find I no longer fear his disapproval, as I once did. There is a strange freedom in choosing one's own path, even if it leads away from fortune and title." Diana nodded, understanding perfectly. The most valuable freedoms often come at the highest price. Later that evening, as Diana prepared to return to Heathwood, Jamie drew her into the library for a private moment. "Hugh spoke to me at length today," he said, his expression serious. Diana felt a flicker of apprehension. "Oh? What about?" "About you, primarily, and about certain rumors regarding my past that he had apparently been investigating." "What rumors?" Diana asked, remembering Hugh's veiled warnings. Jamie sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. "It is not a pleasant tale, but you deserve to know it. Before I inherited the dukedom, I was engaged to Lady Eleanor Blackwood. We had grown up together, and the match was considered ideal by both families." Diana waited, sensing the difficulty in his confession. "A week before our wedding, Eleanor eloped with my cousin, Richard. There was a terrible scandal. They fled to the continent, and 6 months later, news came that Eleanor had died in childbirth in Italy. Richard never returned to England." Jamie's voice was tight with old pain. "Society, always eager for scandal, whispered that I had somehow driven her away with cruelty or neglect, that no woman would flee from a ducal marriage unless forced by desperate circumstances." "That's absurd," Diana protested. "Anyone who knows you would understand the accusation is baseless." "The truth was far simpler and far more painful," Jamie continued. "Eleanor loved Richard, not me. She had always loved him, but her family insisted on the more prestigious match. In her final letter to me, she begged forgiveness and said she had to follow her heart, even at the cost of her reputation." Diana touched his arm gently. "I'm so sorry, Jamie. After that, I retreated to Derbyshire, focusing on improving the estate and the lives of those who depend on it. I had no interest in London society or in forming another attachment, until I saw you that night, standing so proudly despite your own heartbreak." Diana felt a surge of tenderness for this man who had known his own share of pain. "Thank you for telling me. Hugh thought to warn you against me with these rumors," Jamie said wryly. "Instead, he inadvertently gave me the opportunity to be honest with you about my past. I have no secrets from you now, Diana." "Nor I from you," she replied, her heart full. "We have both known betrayal, and perhaps that makes what we've found together all the more precious." The following morning, Hugh and Victoria departed Ashworth Hall. As their carriage pulled away, Diana felt the final chapter of her history with Hugh closing gently, replaced by the promising beginning of a new story with Jamie. "No regrets?" Jamie asked, standing beside her in the morning light. Diana turned to him, her face radiant with certainty. None whatsoever. Autumn painted Derbyshire in rich hues of gold and crimson. 3 months had passed since the eventful summer days that had transformed Diana's life. The new schoolhouse stood complete in the village, a testament to Jamie's generosity and commitment to education. Diana had established herself as the unofficial headmistress, developing an innovative curriculum that included not only reading and arithmetic, but also natural science and history for both boys and girls. On this particular September morning, Diana stood before the school's entrance, watching as children filtered in for the day's lessons. The crisp air carried the scent of wood smoke and fallen leaves, and her heart felt full with the simple joy of purpose fulfilled. "Miss Byron," called a small voice. It was Emma Simmons, the blacksmith's daughter, rushing forward with something clutched in her hands. "Look what I found in Father's forge. He says it's a fossil." Diana examined the stone with its perfect imprint of an ancient fern. "Indeed it is, Emma. How wonderful. We shall add it to our natural history collection." As the children gathered around to admire the fossil, Diana glimpsed a familiar figure approaching on horseback. Jamie had taken to visiting the school several mornings each week, often bringing new books or educational materials from London. The children adored him, showing none of the intimidation one might expect toward a duke, and Jamie clearly delighted in their enthusiasm. "Good morning, Your Grace," the children chorused as Jamie dismounted. "Good morning, scholars," he replied warmly, his eyes finding Diana's with a private smile. "I've brought something special today. Who can tell me about the ancient Romans?" As Jamie engaged the children with tales of Roman Britain, producing a small collection of artifacts he had arranged to borrow from a museum acquaintance in London, Diana watched with growing affection. In the months since their first kiss at Ashworth Hall, their courtship had progressed with proper decorum but undeniable passion. Baron Byron had readily given his blessing, recognizing in Jamie a man of true character and genuine devotion to his daughter. After the lesson, as the children filed inside with their teacher, Jamie took Diana's hand, drawing her toward a nearby oak tree where they could speak privately. "You appear deep in thought this morning," he observed. Diana smiled up at him. "I was reflecting on how much has changed since spring. If someone had told me then that Hugh's betrayal would lead me to such happiness, I would never have believed it." "Life's most difficult paths often lead to unexpected destinations," Jamie agreed, his blue eyes warm with affection. "Speaking of destinations, I've received a letter from London that may interest you." He produced a folded paper from his coat. "It seems that Lady Victoria has indeed returned to America, but not before telling anyone who would listen that she broke her engagement to Westmoreland, not the other way around. Apparently the Tun is quite scandalized by her audacity." Diana couldn't suppress a small laugh. Poor Hugh, his pride must be terribly wounded. "Indeed," Jamie replied, his expression turning more serious. "The letter also mentions that Westmoreland's financial situation has grown dire. Without Victoria's fortune, he may be forced to sell parts of his estate." Diana felt a pang of sympathy for her former fiancé. Despite everything, she could not wish him ill. "That is unfortunate. Hugh's identity is so bound up in his ancestral lands." "There's more," Jamie continued. "According to my solicitor, Hugh has been making inquiries about selling his London house. It seems he intends to retreat to the country and live more modestly. Perhaps it will be good for him," Diana suggested, "to learn the value of things beyond wealth and status." Jamie's eyes crinkled with amusement. "Ever compassionate, even toward those who have wronged you." The school bell rang, calling Diana back to her duties. "Will you join us for luncheon at Heathwood later?" she asked, reluctantly preparing to leave. "I'm afraid I have business in Matlock today," Jamie replied, his expression oddly enigmatic. "But I shall call on you this evening, if I may. There is something important I wish to discuss with your father." Diana felt her heart quicken at his formal tone. "Of course. We shall expect you for dinner." As she returned to the schoolroom, Diana found concentration difficult. Could Jamie be planning to ask for her hand this very evening? They had spoken in general terms of marriage, but no formal proposal had yet been made. The thought both thrilled and overwhelmed her. The day passed in a blur of lessons and administrative tasks. By late afternoon, Diana was gathering her things to return home when the school door opened to admit an unexpected visitor. Hugh Grosvenor stood in the doorway, his elegant attire incongruous in the simple schoolroom. "Hugh," Diana said, startled. "What brings you to Derbyshire?" He removed his hat, looking uncharacteristically hesitant. "Speak privately, Diana." She gestured to an empty bench. "The children have gone. We may speak here." Hugh sat, his tall frame awkward on the child-sized furniture. "I've come to apologize, properly this time, and to wish you happy." Diana set aside the papers she had been organizing. "That's very kind, but unnecessary." "It is entirely necessary," Hugh insisted. "I behaved abominably toward you. Out of greed and ambition, I threw away something precious, your trust and affection. I see now what a fool I was." There was a sincerity in his voice that Diana had rarely heard before. "We all make mistakes, Hugh. Some mistakes have graver consequences than others." His expression was rueful. "You've heard about my financial difficulties, I presume." "Jamie mentioned something," Diana acknowledged. "Of course he did." Hugh gave a short laugh. "Ashworth always did have impeccable sources of information." "Well, it's true. Without Victoria's fortune, I've been forced to make difficult decisions. I'm selling the London house and half the art collection. The entailed lands are safe, but only just." "I'm sorry to hear it," Diana said sincerely. Hugh waved away her sympathy. "Don't be. In truth, there's a strange liberation in it. For the first time in my life, I'm making choices based on necessity rather than appearance. It's clarifying." Diana studied him with new interest. This humbler Hugh was a far cry from the arrogant man who had broken their engagement for greater wealth. "But I didn't come to discuss my finances," Hugh continued. "I came because I heard rumors of an impending engagement between you and Ashworth. Is it true?" Diana hesitated. "Jamie has not yet spoken formally to my father, but I believe his intentions are serious." Hugh nodded slowly. "He's a good man, Diana. Far better than I was to you." He reached into his pocket, producing a small velvet box. "Before I go, I wanted to return this. It was always meant for you." He opened the box to reveal a delicate pearl ring that had belonged to his grandmother, the ring he had given Diana upon their engagement, which she had returned after their break. "Hugh, I cannot accept this," Diana protested. "Not as an engagement gift," he clarified quickly, "but as a token of apology, and as a reminder that even those who make grievous mistakes can learn from them." His eyes held hers earnestly. "I want you to be happy, Diana. Truly happy. And I believe Ashworth will give you the life and love you deserve." Touched by his unexpected maturity, Diana accepted the box. "Thank you, Hugh. I hope you find happiness too." He rose to leave, pausing at the door. "I'm returning to Westmoreland Park permanently. The London society that once seemed so essential now feels hollow. Perhaps I'll follow your example and establish a school on the estate." Diana smiled. "You might find it more rewarding than you expect." After Hugh departed, Diana sat for a long while in the empty schoolroom, turning the velvet box in her hands. It represented a chapter of her life now closed, not with bitterness, as she had once feared, but with a peaceful sense of resolution. That evening, as Diana dressed for dinner, she selected her finest gown, a deep emerald silk that complemented her dark eyes and chestnut hair. Betsy arranged her hair in an elegant style, adorned with a simple pearl comb, a gift from her mother. "You look beautiful, Miss Diana," Betsy said, stepping back to admire her handiwork. "The Duke won't be able to take his eyes off you." Diana smiled, her cheeks warming. "Is it that obvious why he's coming tonight?" "The whole household has been speculating for weeks," Betsy admitted with a grin. "Cook's prepared all His Grace's favourite dishes." When Diana descended to the drawing room, she found her parents already entertaining Jamie, who stood immediately upon her entrance. His eyes widened appreciatively as he took in her appearance. "Diana," he greeted her, crossing the room to take her hand. "You look radiant." Dinner was a pleasant affair, with conversation flowing easily between topics of local interest and broader discussions of politics and literature. Diana noted how naturally Jamie had integrated into her family circle, respectful of her father's opinions, while gently introducing progressive ideas about education and estate management. After the meal, Baron Byron invited Jamie to join him in his study for brandy, exchanging a meaningful glance with his wife that was not lost on Diana. She and her mother retired to the drawing room, where Diana pretended to concentrate on her embroidery while straining to hear any sound from the corridor. "Patience, my dear," Lady Byron said with knowing amusement. Some conversations between gentlemen must be conducted properly. Nearly half an hour passed before the study door opened. Diana heard her father's deep laugh, followed by Jamie's voice, though she couldn't make out the words. When they entered the drawing room, both men wore expressions of satisfaction. "Diana," her father said formally, though his eyes twinkled with suppressed joy. "The Duke of Ashworth has requested a private audience with you. Your mother and I shall take a turn in the conservatory." As her parents tactfully withdrew, closing the door behind them, Diana set aside her embroidery with trembling hands. Jamie approached, taking both her hands in his as he led her to the sofa. "Diana Byron," he began, his voice rich with emotion, "these past months have been the happiest of my life. You have brought light and purpose to days I once filled merely with duty." Diana's heart raced as Jamie knelt before her, still holding her hands in his. "I love you more than I believed it possible to love anyone," he continued. "Your intelligence, your compassion, your strength of character, every quality reveals new depths each day we spend together." From his pocket, he produced a small box of midnight blue velvet. Opening it, he revealed a ring unlike any Diana had seen, a perfect sapphire surrounded by diamonds that caught the firelight in dazzling patterns. "This was my mother's," Jamie explained softly. "The only item of hers I truly cherish. The sapphire reminded my father of her eyes, just as it reminds me of the day we met. You in your blue silk gown, standing proud despite your broken heart." Diana felt tears welling as Jamie continued. "Diana Byron, would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife? Not for fortune or title, but for love, pure and true, and the promise of a partnership based on mutual respect and shared purpose." "Yes," Diana whispered, her voice catching with emotion. "With all my heart, yes." Jamie slid the ring onto her finger, then rose to sit beside her, drawing her into a tender embrace. His kiss was gentle, yet passionate, a promise of the life they would build together. When they finally parted, Diana rested her head against his shoulder. "I never imagined finding such happiness after what happened with Hugh. It seems almost too perfect to be real." Jamie stroked her hair gently. "Not perfect, perhaps, but real and lasting because it's built on honesty and genuine affection, not calculation or social advantage." Diana remembered her conversation with Hugh earlier that day. "I saw Hugh this afternoon. He came to the school." Jamie stiffened slightly. "Did he? What did he want?" "To apologize. Sincerely this time. And to wish us happy. I believe he's truly changed, Jamie. His financial difficulties seem to have taught him valuable lessons." Jamie's expression softened. "Then perhaps some good has come from all the pain." Diana nodded thoughtfully. "He returned my old engagement ring, not to rekindle anything, but as a gesture of apology. It made me realize how completely my feelings for him have transformed. Where once there was hurt and betrayal, now there's only a quiet wish for his welfare." "That speaks to your generous spirit," Jamie said, kissing her forehead. "Most would harbor resentment." "What purpose would that serve?" Diana asked simply. "Hugh's betrayal, painful as it was, led me to you. To true love rather than infatuation, to substance rather than mere appearance." She gazed up at her fiancé, heart full. "I would endure that heartbreak 1,000 times if it always led to this moment." 2 months later, on a crisp November morning, the small Norman church in the village near Ashworth Hall was filled with flowers and candlelight. Diana stood at the entrance on her father's arm, a vision in ivory silk and Honiton lace, her mother's veil framing her radiant face. At the altar waited Jamie, his tall figure commanding in formal attire, his blue eyes never leaving Diana as she processed toward him. The assembled guests, family, friends, and villagers alike, watched with approving smiles as the couple who had found love after heartbreak joined their hands and lives before God. Among the congregation sat Hugh Grosvenor, invited at Diana's insistence. As she passed him on her father's arm, their eyes met briefly. Hugh gave her a small nod of genuine approval and something like gratitude, acknowledging the journey that had brought them all to this moment of resolution and new beginnings. The ceremony was simple but moving. When Jamie and Diana exchanged their vows, their voices rang with certainty and joy. The vicar pronounced them husband and wife, and as Jamie bent to kiss his bride, Spontaneous applause broke out among the villagers, many of whom had watched their love story unfold over the preceding months. At the wedding breakfast held at Ashworth Hall, Diana and Jamie moved among their guests, accepting congratulations and well wishes. When they reached Hugh, he bowed formally over Diana's hand. "Duchess," he said, using her new title with a smile free from bitterness. "You look radiant with happiness." "Thank you, Hugh," Diana replied warmly. Hugh turned to Jamie, offering his hand. "You're a fortunate man, Ashworth. I trust you'll never take that good fortune for granted." Jamie clasped his hand firmly. "Never, on my honor." As the celebration continued around them, Jamie drew Diana away for a moment of privacy in the library that had become their sanctuary. "Happy, my love?" he asked, his eyes searching hers. Diana reached up to touch his face tenderly. "Completely. This feels like the beginning of something extraordinary, not just for us, but for all the lives we might touch together." Jamie nodded, understanding perfectly. "The school is only the start. With you by my side, I believe we can accomplish remarkable things for Derbyshire. For each other as well," Diana added softly. "Every day, learning and growing together." As they rejoined their guests, Diana caught sight of Hugh preparing to depart. He gave her one last smile, wistful but genuine, before slipping away. In that moment, Diana felt the final pieces of her heart's puzzle fall into place. The man who had once broken her heart had inadvertently set her on the path to true happiness, and for that she could only be grateful. Later, as evening fell and the newlyweds prepared to depart for their wedding journey to Italy, Diana stood with Jamie on the steps of Ashworth Hall. The estate glowed with warm light against the gathering dusk, a beacon of home and possibility. "What are you thinking?" Jamie asked, his arm around her waist. Diana leaned into him, savoring his warmth and strength. "That sometimes life's greatest disappointments lead to its greatest joys. That broken hearts can mend stronger than before. And that the most desired duke may not be the one with the grandest title or the largest fortune," Jamie added with a smile, "but the one who treasures what truly matters." "Indeed," Diana agreed, turning in his arms to face him fully. "For what profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul, or his heart's true love?" Their kiss beneath the stars sealed a promise that neither wealth nor status, but only genuine love and mutual respect could fulfill. A lesson hard-learned, but infinitely precious, and one they would carry through all the days of their lives together. Dear listener, in the quiet moments before sleep claims you tonight, let us whisper a truth that Diana and Jamie's story has revealed. The compass of your heart never truly loses its way, even when the path seems shrouded in fog. Like autumn leaves dancing to the ground to nourish next spring's bloom, life's bitter disappointments are not endings but transformations. Diana's journey from the ballrooms of London to finding her true purpose in Derbyshire mirrors a wisdom many of us discover in our 7th and 8th decades, that what we once considered our greatest heartbreaks were actually divine redirections. Consider the oak tree that stands tall after 60 winters. Its trunk bears the scars of lightning strikes, its branches show where storms have tested their strength. Yet each mark tells not of defeat, but of triumphant survival. Your life's disappointments, the love that withered, the trust that was broken, the dreams deferred, have etched similar patterns into your soul, creating something more magnificent than perfection could ever achieve. Hugh chose fortune over love and found himself impoverished in spirit. How many of us have pursued society's definitions of success only to discover they were mirages? The wisdom of your years has surely taught you that authentic connections outvalue any material wealth. This hard-earned discernment is not the consolation prize of aging. It is its crowning glory. Tonight, as you settle into the embrace of well-earned rest, know that the world is richer for your presence in it. Like Jamie Spencer, who recognized Diana's worth when others saw only scandal, there are those who treasure the depth and richness your journey has cultivated within you. Your weathered hands have held both sorrows and joys. They know the weight of both and are stronger for it. May your slumber be deep as Derbyshire valleys and peaceful as its rolling hills. May you wake renewed, carrying not the burdens of yesteryears, but their precious lessons. Remember that the most beautiful gardens often belong to the most patient gardeners, those who understand that some flowers bloom late but magnificently. You are not merely surviving the winter of life. You are its most distinguished interpreter, teaching younger souls that resilience is not about avoiding the storm, but about learning to dance in the rain. Your story continues to unfold with dignity and purpose, each day a blank page awaiting your wisdom. Rest now, protected by the knowledge that you have never been more valuable, more needed, or more cherished than you are at this very moment. With profound respect for the journey that has brought you here, Legends of the Fall Team. Thank you for staying with us until the end of Diana and Jamie's unforgettable journey. From heartbreak to healing, from betrayal to true love, we hope this story touched your heart the way it touched ours. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support truly encourages us from the bottom of our hearts to keep creating these deeply emotional stories of love, redemption, and second chances. And remember, at the end of this video, another suggested story will appear. Click it and be swept away once again by a new, powerful romance waiting to unfold.